What if the healing you've been searching for wasn't invented in a lab, but created by God, hidden in the wild since the very beginning? Right now, in forests, on tree trunks, and across fallen wood, some of the most fascinating natural substances on Earth are quietly growing unnoticed. Most people walk right past them. Some avoid them completely. Others never stop to ask what they really are. But for generations, long before modern medicine, people looked to creation for healing. And one of the most mysterious parts of that creation is mushrooms. Unusual, powerful, often misunderstood, yet many of them contain remarkable natural compounds that researchers are still studying today for their potential to support immunity, brain health, energy, recovery, and whole body balance. What makes this even more incredible is that many of these mushrooms are still accessible right now. Some can be found in nature, some can be grown at home, and some can even be prepared into nourishing teas, broths, and meals. In this video, we're revealing 15 God-created mushrooms with secret healing power, from ancient medicinal fungi to common mushrooms with extraordinary potential. And this is not just another countdown. You'll learn what each one is, what it may support, why people have used it for centuries, and simple ways to bring it into everyday life. So stay with us until the end, because a few of these mushrooms may completely change the way you see God's creation forever. Because number 15 is one of the most unusual and fascinating mushrooms on Earth, known for something most people never expect from a fungus. If you're into biblical plants, natural healing, ancient remedies, and real-world wisdom rooted in creation, subscribe to Biblical Roots and let's get started. 1. Reishi, the ancient mushroom long, revered for strength and stillness. If there is one mushroom on this list that feels almost legendary, it's this one. Because reishi does not look like an ordinary food. It looks ancient, like something hidden in the forest for a reason. With its glossy surface, rich reddish-brown color, and wood-like texture, reishi has been valued for centuries in traditional healing systems, not because it was soft, tasty, or easy to cook, but because people believed it carried something deeper, a kind of steady strength. Reishi has long been associated with supporting the immune system, helping the body adapt to stress, and promoting rest, resilience, and long-term wellness. Today, modern research continues exploring its natural compounds, especially its polysaccharides and triterpenes, for their potential role in inflammation, immune balance, and overall vitality. And that's what makes reishi so interesting. It's not really known as a quick-fix mushroom. It's more of a slow, strengthening one, the kind of thing people return to over time. Because sometimes healing isn't dramatic. Sometimes it looks like restoration, little by little. The one thing to know about reishi is this. You usually don't eat it like a dinner mushroom. It's too tough and woody for that. Instead, it's most often used in teas, decoctions, broths, or powdered extracts, which actually makes it perfect for this kind of old-world, practical remedy approach. One of the simplest ways to use it is to simmer sliced dried reishi in water for a long, slow brew. That creates a dark, earthy mushroom tonic with a slightly bitter taste, strong, grounding, and deeply medicinal in feel. Some people drink it plain. Others add honey, cinnamon, ginger, or a little lemon to make it easier and warmer. And if you want a very simple recipe idea, you can make a reishi immune broth by simmering dried reishi, slices garlic, onion, ginger, black pepper, and a pinch of sea salt. Let it go low and slow for at least 45 minutes to an hour. Then strain and sip it like a savory tonic. It's not flashy, it's not trendy, but that may be exactly why it has lasted. Because reishi reminds us that some of the most powerful things in creation aren't always soft, sweet, or easy. Sometimes they're hidden in the hard things, and sometimes that's where the strength is. 2. Lion's mane, the strange white mushroom that supports the mind. This next mushroom looks so unusual, it almost doesn't seem real. Instead of a cap and stem, it grows in soft white tendrils, almost like cascading hair, frozen icicles, or a living waterfall hanging from a tree. And yet behind that strange appearance is one of the most talked about healing mushrooms in the world today. Lion's mane has become especially known for one reason: the brain. For years, this mushroom has attracted attention for its potential role in supporting memory, focus, mental clarity, and nerve health. Researchers have studied compounds in lion's mane that may help stimulate nerve growth factor, something involved in the maintenance and repair of nerve cells. And that's why so many people now turn to it for things like brain fog, concentration learning, and long-term cognitive support. But what makes lion's mane especially valuable for your audience is that it's not just medicinal. It's also a genuinely useful food. Unlike tougher mushrooms like reishi or chaga, lion's mane is soft, meaty, and surprisingly delicious when cooked properly. In fact, many people say it has a texture similar to crab or shredded seafood when sautéed. That means this is one of those rare mushrooms that feels both ancient and practical, something you could actually make at home. One of the easiest ways to use it is in a simple lion's mane skillet fry. Just slice it into thick pieces and sauté it in olive oil or butter, garlic, a little sea salt cracked, black pepper, and fresh herbs like thyme or parsley. Cook it until the edges turn golden and slightly crisp. That's it. You can eat it on toast, beside eggs, over rice, or tucked into a warm flatbread. And if you want to make it even more fitting for your channel, you can treat it like an old-world mind and strength food, because that's really what makes lion's mane so compelling. It reminds us that healing doesn't always come in dramatic forms. Sometimes it grows quietly on the side of a tree, looking almost too strange to notice. But hidden inside it is something remarkable, a mushroom that seems designed not just to nourish the body, but to sharpen the mind. 3. Turkey tail, the forest fan, with remarkable immune strength. At first glance, this one doesn't even look like a mushroom most people would eat. It grows in thin, layered shelves, fanning out across fallen logs like little feathers or ripples of color painted into wood. Brown, cream, rust, gray, sometimes even blue-toned. And because of those striped, fanned layers, it was given a fitting name: turkey tail. But what makes this mushroom so powerful isn't just the way it looks, it's what it contains. Turkey tail has become one of the most respected mushrooms in the world of immune support. It's especially valued for its polysaccharides, natural compounds that have been widely studied for how they may help support the body's immune response and internal resilience. And that matters because some mushrooms don't just nourish. They seem to train and strengthen the body from within. That's the appeal of turkey tail. It's not typically eaten as a culinary mushroom because it's too tough and leathery. But as a tea, broth base, or powdered preparation, it has become a favorite among those who want deeper, long-term wellness support. And honestly, it feels like the kind of thing people in older generations would have respected immediately, because it looks medicinal. It looks like something gathered with intention. One simple way to use it is to make a turkey tail herbal decoction. You can simmer dried turkey tail, sliced ginger, cinnamon stick, orange peel, and a little raw honey after straining. Let it simmer for 45 minutes or more, then strain. What you get is a deep, earthy tonic with a woodland quality to it. Not exactly like tea, more like a slow, strengthening brew. And visually, it fits this video perfectly. Because turkey tail reminds us that some of the most useful things in creation are not the biggest, prettiest, or most obvious. Sometimes the healing power is hidden in the quiet things growing on dead wood in the forest. Things most people walk right past. But once you understand what they are, you never look at them the same way again. 4. Chaga, the dark forest growth, packed with hidden power. If you saw this growing on a tree and didn't know what it was, you might not even think it was useful. In fact, you might think it was damaged bark or some kind of burnt knot, because chaga doesn't look beautiful in the usual sense. It looks rough, blackened, cracked, almost charred, but hidden inside. That rugged outer shell is one of the most fascinating medicinal fungi in the natural world. Chaga typically grows on birch trees in colder climates, and for generations it has been gathered and brewed into teas and tonics in Old World traditions. It has become especially known for its antioxidant richness and its role in supporting immune health, inflammation balance, and overall resilience. And that's what makes chaga so fitting for this list, because it perfectly reflects one of the great patterns in creation. Sometimes the things that look the harshest on the outside are carrying something valuable within. Unlike common cooking mushrooms, chaga isn't something you slice into a skillet. It's usually broken into chunks or ground, then slowly simmered into a dark, earthy drink. And that's actually where it shines best. One of the easiest ways to use it is in a chaga cinnamon tea. Just simmer chaga chunks or granules, cinnamon stick, fresh ginger and water. Let it brew low and slow until the water turns deep brown, almost like coffee. Then strain and add honey or a splash of milk if desired. The result is rich, grounding, and warming, almost like a forest tonic. And that's probably the best way to think of chaga, not as a trendy superfood, but as a rugged, hidden creation, the kind of thing people once learned to value because they paid attention to the land. And once you see it that way, chaga feels less like a modern wellness ingredient and more like an old secret, hidden in the trees. 5. Cordyceps, the energy mushroom that built a powerful reputation. This next mushroom has one of the strangest reputations on the entire list, because cordyceps doesn't just get talked about for healing, it gets talked about for performance, strength, endurance, stamina, recovery, and that alone makes it stand out. For years, cordyceps has been valued in traditional wellness systems for helping support energy and physical resilience. Today, it's often associated with oxygen use, endurance, athletic performance, and the body's ability to handle exertion more efficiently. That's why people are drawn to it, not because it promises something magical, but because it fits a very practical need. How do you keep going when the body feels drained? And that question is timeless. Now, wild cordyceps has a very unusual natural growth pattern, one that makes it one of the most fascinating fungi in the world. But thankfully, cultivated cordyceps used today is much more accessible, practical, and easy to work with. And unlike some of the tougher medicinal mushrooms, cordyceps often works very well in powders, broths, soups, and warm tonic drinks. One of the easiest ways to use it is in a cordyceps morning strength drink. You can blend or whisk together warm water or milk, cordyceps powder, cinnamon, raw honey, and a pinch of sea salt. Some people also add cacao or coffee for a richer flavor. The result is earthy, energizing, and surprisingly easy to work into a morning routine. You can also stir it into broths or soups if you want a more savory approach. And that's really what makes cordyceps so useful for a video like this. It shows that mushrooms aren't only about immunity or illness. Some of them seem designed to help the body endure, to strengthen, to restore, to support motion, labor, and effort. And in a world where so many people feel exhausted all the time, that kind of God-created help feels especially worth noticing. 6. Shiitake, the savory healing mushroom that feeds and strengthens. Some mushrooms feel medicinal first, but shiitake feels like something even more practical than that. It feels like food that heals. With its rich brown, deep savory flavor, and meaty texture, shiitake has been valued for generations, not just because it tastes good, but because it nourishes in a way that feels deeply strengthening. And that's important, because not every healing food has to be bitter, rare, or difficult to use. Sometimes, the most powerful remedies are the ones you can actually put on the table. Shiitake has long been associated with immune support, heart health, and overall vitality. It contains compounds that researchers have studied for their role in supporting cholesterol balance, inflammation response, and the body's natural defenses. But what makes shiitake especially strong for this video is that it bridges both worlds beautifully. It's medicinal enough to matter and culinary enough to use often. That makes it one of the most practical mushrooms on this entire list. One of the easiest ways to prepare it is in a simple shiitake garlic skillet. Just slice fresh or soaked shiitake and saute it in olive oil, garlic, onion, sea salt, black pepper. Cook until tender and slightly browned. You can serve it with eggs, lentils, flatbread, rice, or broth. And if you want to make it feel even more old world, add it to a simple soup with barley, herbs, and onions. That's where shiitake really shines, because it reminds us that some of the best healing foods aren't exotic or complicated. They're simply nourishing enough to help rebuild what the body needs. And sometimes that kind of steady nourishment is its own form of medicine. 7. Maitake, the layered forest mushroom, known for deep nourishment. At first glance, maitake doesn't look delicate. It looks abundant, like something meant to feed people. With its clustered, leafy folds and broad layered shape, maitake grows almost like a harvest in itself, a mushroom that looks full, generous, and deeply rooted in the forest. And maybe that's part of why it has earned such a strong reputation over time, because maitake is often associated with nourishment that goes deeper than just calories. Traditionally, it has been valued for immune support, balance, and vitality. Modern interest has especially focused on its beta-glucans and other compounds being studied for how they may support immune health, metabolic wellness, and blood sugar balance. And that gives maitake a very useful place in a video like this, because this isn't just a mushroom people talk about for healing. It's also one you can actually eat and enjoy. Maitake has a rich, earthy flavor and a slightly crisp, feathery texture when cooked well. It works beautifully roasted, sautéed, or simmered into broths and soups. One of the simplest ways to use it is in a maitake herb roast. Tear the mushroom into natural pieces and toss it with olive oil, garlic, thyme, rosemary, sea salt, black pepper. Then roast it until the edges become golden and crisp. That's it. You can serve it beside roasted vegetables, spoon it over grains, or eat it as a savory side all on its own. And that's what makes maitake so compelling. It feels like one of those foods that sits right at the meeting point of forest wisdom and kitchen practicality. A mushroom that doesn't just look wild, but feels like it was made to sustain. 8. Oyster mushroom, the gentle, beautiful mushroom that heals through simplicity. There's something almost graceful about this one. Unlike some mushrooms that look rugged, medicinal, or strange, oyster mushrooms feel softer, more elegant. They grow in smooth, layered clusters, often pale cream, tan, or soft gray, almost like petals unfolding from wood. And yet beneath that delicate appearance is a mushroom with real practical value. Oyster mushrooms are often praised for being nutrient-dense, easy to digest, and rich in compounds that may support immunity, heart health, and inflammation balance. They've also drawn attention for their potential role in helping support cholesterol levels and general metabolic health. But what makes oyster mushrooms especially powerful in a video like this is how approachable they are. They don't feel intimidating. They feel like something a family could actually use, something that fits naturally into everyday meals. And that matters, because healing foods are often most useful when they're simple enough to return to again and again. One of the easiest ways to use them is in a rustic oyster mushroom sauté. Just tear them into strips and cook them with olive oil, garlic, onion, thyme, sea salt, cracked pepper. Sauté until the edges turn golden and slightly crisp. You can serve them over toast, fold them into eggs, add them to soups, or tuck them into flatbread with herbs and oil. And that's really the beauty of oyster mushrooms. They don't need much. They're not flashy. They're not extreme. They just quietly offer nourishment in a form that feels gentle, accessible, and deeply usable. And sometimes that kind of healing is the most valuable of all. 9. King oyster, the meaty mushroom that feels like a meal and a remedy. This mushroom feels substantial the moment you see it. Thick stem, firm texture, broad cap. It doesn't look fragile. or decorative. It looks like food with weight to it. And that's exactly why king oyster deserves a place on this list. Because some healing foods don't just support the body in hidden ways, they also satisfy, they strengthen. Through nourishment. King oyster mushrooms are often appreciated for their fiber, antioxidants, and overall nutrient density, while also being incredibly versatile in the kitchen. Their texture is one of their greatest strengths, dense, savory, and almost meat-like when cooked properly. That makes them especially useful for hearty, practical meals. And in a biblical roots kind of framework, that matters. Because old world healing was rarely about fancy formulas. It was often about building strength through deeply nourishing food. King oyster fits that beautifully. One of the best ways to prepare it is in a king oyster skillet sear. Slice the stems into thick rounds or long strips, then cook them in olive oil or butter, garlic, onion, sea salt, black pepper, a little thyme or rosemary. Sear until golden on both sides. The texture becomes rich, savory, and almost steak-like. You can serve it beside lentils, roasted vegetables, grains, or even on flatbread with olive oil and herbs. And that's what makes this mushroom stand out. It doesn't just feel medicinal, it feels sustaining, like something that could actually help carry a body through work, labor, and daily life. And sometimes that's exactly what healing looks like. Not something delicate, something solid enough to strengthen the whole table. 10. Enoki, the delicate mushroom that brings quiet strength. This next mushroom looks almost too fragile to matter. Long, thin stems, tiny caps, a soft, pale appearance that makes it feel more like a garnish than a remedy. But that would be a mistake, because enoki may be delicate in form, yet it carries a long history of being valued as both food and functional. Nourishment. Enoki has often been appreciated for being light, mineral-rich, and supportive without feeling heavy. It's commonly associated with digestion, immune support, and general wellness, and because of its texture, it works especially well in broths, soups, and simple warming meals. And that gives it a very old-world kind of usefulness. Because not every healing food has to be rich and heavy. Sometimes the body needs something lighter, cleaner, gentler. Enoki fits that beautifully. One of the easiest ways to use it is in an enoki healing broth. Just simmer enoki mushrooms, garlic, ginger, green onion, sea salt, black pepper, and simple stock or water. Let it warm gently until the mushrooms soften and the broth becomes fragrant. You can sip it on its own or serve it with rice, eggs, or a rustic meal. And that's really the beauty of enoki. It doesn't demand attention the way some of the more dramatic mushrooms do. It works quietly, softly. But in a world where so many people live, overloaded, inflamed, and overfed, a lighter kind of nourishment can be deeply healing too. And sometimes, the gentlest things in creation still carry remarkable strength. 11. Wood ear, the ancient mushroom, known for cleansing and flow. This one doesn't look like a typical mushroom at all. It grows in thin, ear-shaped folds, dark, smooth, almost gelatinous in texture, clinging quietly to wood after rain. And for many people, the first reaction is uncertainty. But in traditional use, this mushroom has been anything but overlooked. Wood ear has long been valued for its association with circulation, hydration, and internal balance. It's often described as a mushroom that supports the body's natural flow, helping things move, cleanse, and stay in balance. And that idea feels very old world, because ancient approaches to health didn't always focus on attacking problems. They focused on restoring movement, balance, circulation, clarity within the body. That's where wood ear fits. It's not strong in flavor, but it carries a unique texture, slightly crisp, slightly soft, making it ideal for simple, nourishing meals. One of the easiest ways to use it is in a wood ear cleansing broth. Just simmer soaked wood, ear, mushrooms, garlic, ginger, onion, a pinch of salt, and a light broth. You can also add greens or herbs to round it out. The result is light, clean, and quietly nourishing. And that's really the nature of this mushroom. It doesn't overwhelm, it doesn't dominate, it supports. And sometimes the most important kind of healing is simply helping the body return to its natural rhythm. 12. Porcini, the deep, earthy mushroom that feels like pure forest nourishment. Some mushrooms feel delicate, others feel powerful. Porcini feels grounded, with its thick stem, broad cap, and rich earthy aroma. Porcini has long been considered one of the most prized wild mushrooms in the world. But beyond its culinary reputation, there's something deeper about it. It feels like nourishment in its purest form. Porcini is valued for its minerals, antioxidants, and deep, savory richness, the kind that makes simple food feel complete. And that's part of its strength, because when food is satisfying at that level, it naturally supports the body. There's no need for complexity, just real nourishment. Porcini is often used dried, which actually concentrates its flavor even more. Once rehydrated, it becomes tender, aromatic, and perfect for broths, stews, and rustic meals. One of the simplest ways to use it is in a porcini forest broth. Simmer. Dried porcini, onion, garlic, thyme, a little olive oil, and water or stock. Let it cook slowly until the broth becomes deep and fragrant. You can drink it as a tonic, or use it as a base for grains, lentils, or soups. And that's what makes porcini special. It doesn't feel like a supplement. It feels like something you could live on. Something gathered from the forest, prepared simply, and trusted, because it satisfies both hunger and strength. 13. Morel, the wild harvest mushroom that feels like a hidden treasure. Some mushrooms have to be cultivated, others have to be found. Morels belong to that second kind. With their honeycomb-like caps and hollow interiors, morels look almost otherworldly, like something shaped by design rather than accident. They grow wild, often in very specific conditions, and for generations, they've been prized by those who know where to look. And that's part of their appeal. They feel rare, intentional, like a gift hidden in plain sight. Morels are valued for their rich flavor, nutrient density, and the sense of reward that comes with finding them. They're often associated with seasonal renewal appearing in the spring, around the same time the earth begins to come alive again. And that connection matters, because it ties this mushroom directly to a rhythm of provision, a reminder that sometimes what we need is already there, just waiting to be discovered. Morels should always be cooked, never eaten raw, and one of the best ways to prepare them is simply a morel butter sauté is more than enough. Cook them gently in butter or olive oil, garlic, a pinch of salt, fresh herbs. Let their natural flavor come through. Serve them with bread, eggs, or a simple meal. And that's really the beauty of morels. They don't just nourish the body. They remind us that provision often comes with patience, with awareness, with a willingness to search. And sometimes, the most valuable things in creation are the ones you have to learn to recognize. 14. Black trumpet, the dark, hidden mushroom with quiet depth. This next mushroom is easy to miss. In fact, many people walk right past it. Because black trumpets blend into the forest floor dark, thin, almost shadow-like in appearance. Their funnel shape and deep color make them look more like fallen leaves than something edible. And yet, for those who know them, they are highly valued. Not just for flavor, but for what they represent. Black trumpets carry a rich, smoky, almost savory depth that transforms simple food into something memorable. They're often used in small amounts, yet their presence changes the entire dish. And that alone says something, because some things don't need to be large or obvious to be powerful. Sometimes it's the hidden elements that carry the most depth. Nutritionally, they offer minerals and antioxidants. But their real strength in this context is how they elevate simple meals into something more complete. One simple way to use them is in a black trumpet-infused oil or broth. Simmer or steep them with olive oil or light broth, garlic, thyme, a pinch of salt. Strain or leave them in, depending on the texture you want. The result is subtle but deeply enriching. And that's what makes black trumpet so fitting for this list. It reminds us that not everything valuable is easy to see. Some of the most meaningful things in creation are hidden in plain sight, waiting for those who are willing to look a little closer. 15. Tremella, the unusual mushroom associated with restoration and beauty. And finally, we come to one of the most unexpected mushrooms on this entire list, because tremella doesn't look like something you'd expect to do. Carry healing value. It looks almost like a soft, translucent bloom, pale, delicate, almost glowing when hydrated. Sometimes called the snow mushroom, it has a texture that feels more like a gentle gel than a traditional mushroom. And yet, its reputation runs deep. For generations, tremella has been associated with hydration, skin support, and internal restoration. It's often described as a mushroom that helps the body retain moisture, support elasticity, and maintain a kind of natural vitality from within. And that's fascinating, because it shifts the idea of healing from strength to restoration, from endurance to renewal. And that matters. Because true wellness isn't just about pushing the body harder. Sometimes it's about restoring what's been worn down. Tremella is most often used in light broths, teas, or gentle sweet preparations. One simple way to use it is in a tremella honey tonic. Simmer soaked tremella water slices of ginger. Then add honey and a squeeze of citrus if desired. The result is light, slightly sweet, and deeply soothing. And as a final entry, it fits perfectly. Because after everything we've seen, strength, endurance, immunity, nourishment, tremella reminds us of something just as important. That healing is also about renewal, about softness, about restoration, and sometimes about becoming whole again. And that's the hidden beauty of these God-created mushrooms. They may look strange, quiet, or even easy to overlook, but hidden inside them is something remarkable: strength, nourishment, restoration, and healing power that has been built into creation from the very beginning. From reishi and lion's mane to wild morels, black trumpet, and tremella. These mushrooms remind us that some of the most powerful remedies in the world don't come from a factory. They come from the forest, from the soil, from the design of God Himself. If you enjoy biblical plants, natural healing, ancient remedies, forgotten foods, and faith-rooted old-world wisdom, make sure to subscribe to Biblical Roots for more videos like this. And let me know in the comments, which of these mushrooms surprised you the most, and which one would you actually try first. Until next time, stay rooted, stay prepared, and stay blessed.